Brought to you by...
If you find yourself at a bridge after dark, with an empty bottle in hand and an urge emanating from the pit growling within your stomach, all you need to do is blow into it and think about him. If you do, he'll find you. Hello friends, and welcome back to ETF. The Empty Man, directed by David Pryor, and based on the graphic novel by Cullen Bunn and Vanessa R. Del Rey, is a film that delves deep into the psychological horrors lurking beneath the surface of reality. Released in 2020 with little fanfare, it has since garnered a cult following due to its complex narrative, atmospheric tension, and philosophical underpinnings. This one faced numerous challenges during its production. Initially conceived as a straightforward horror film, it evolved into a more ambitious project under Pryor's direction. Filming took place in South Africa and the US, with extensive rewrites and reshoots extending the production's timeline. The film's release was further complicated by the Disney-Fox merger, which left The Empty Man in a state of limbo. As a result, it received minimal marketing and limited theatrical releases during the COVID-19 pandemic, contributing to its initial poor reception and lack of visibility. James Badge Dale delivers a compelling performance as James La Sombra. His portrayal of a grieving, tormented man searching for answers is both nuanced and intense. Dale's ability to convey vulnerability and determination adds depth to his character, making La Sombra's descent into madness both believable and tragic. Supporting performances, particularly from Marin Ireland as the cult leader Nora Quayle, and Stephen Root as Arthur Parsons, add layers of complexity to this story. Their characters are enigmatic and unsettling, contributing to the film's pervasive sense of dread. The beauty for me stems from this very fact, that every character is broken in one way or another. Each of them suffers from loss, trauma, feelings of abandonment, suicidal tendencies. We are introduced to our central protagonist, a rundown ex-cop whose life stands in shambles. He is clearly a hollow shell of a man, but it wouldn't be until later that we really learn why. There's a great dichotomy here, pitting a man so broken and hollowed out by tragedy in a situation that forces him to confront an entity just as empty. In fact, eventually, as you continue further through the plot, it begins to feel as though the lead of the film is not so much any one character, but the dread that surrounds each of them. Every frame within the film is filled with the somber atmosphere of tragedy, loss, and emptiness. Early in, it starts to become clear that the influence of the Empty Man has begun to spread like a plague, its story reaching through the circles of the local youth like a virus, something we have all become familiar with within the past decade. The film is built from a variety of elements that all come together to form the mystery of this narrative. Not only are we introduced to the story of the Empty Man, but those being affected by the entity's influence, its growing threat slowly consuming all those who it touches. But there is also the inclusion of the Pontifex Institute, a mysterious institution that is possibly a front for some kind of doomsday cult, whose entire system of belief hinges on the notion of the Empty Man as a point of meditation. Something that intensified the experience was the 3-day timetable. a sort of ticking clock that pushes the aforementioned dread further. It puts our protagonist into a race against the odds, forcing him to search harder for the answers, and adds a pressure onto us, viewers, as we fear for his safety, as well as those he is trying to help. Even the world surrounding our characters is not exempt from the central theme of the story. Frames often linger dark and empty, devoid of people and life, as if the world itself is under the influence of his calling, with those that remain untainted left unaware of his spreading disease. The choice was made to build this film in the style of a haunting detective story, playing on this ever-unraveling mystery all the more. Our protagonist keeps repeating the phrase, "I grew up in San Francisco," again and again throughout the film, basically meaning that he has seen it all, heard it all, but he is faced with something now that he could never have fathomed. This phrase becomes far more important when the fact is revealed that our main character was conjured by the cult as a sort of tulpa, an idea made flesh through the power of shared will and belief. Suddenly we begin to learn that there is something far worse brewing beneath the surface of this film, that the empty man is not the one we are meant to fear. He is not even the entity in question. The empty man is just a vessel, the conduit through which something far older and more malevolent speaks. Every now and then there is an empty man, much like our protagonist. At first, the concept of the empty man does not present as in and of itself unique, just another creepypasta-style story that has grown from the darkness of someone's subconscious. But there exists something more to this one, a looming ominous presence that calls back from the void, the places between, searching for this next conduit, to spread forth its everlasting influence. For when you stare into the abyss, it tends to stare back into you. This one roots itself into the ever-popular landscape of cosmic horror, a subgenre pioneered by H.P. Lovecraft, which emphasizes the insignificance of humanity in the vast, indifferent universe. It explores themes of existential dread, the unknowable, and the incomprehensible, often involving ancient, godlike entities that lie beyond human understanding. The Empty Man expertly weaves these elements into its narrative, creating a deeply unsettling and thought-provoking experience. At the heart of The Empty Man is the notion that human beings are insignificant in the grand scheme. The entity known as the Empty Man is an ancient, godlike being whose presence and influence extend far beyond human comprehension. This absolutely echoes Lovecraft's idea that humanity is but a fleeting speck in the uncaring cosmos. The film's narrative structure and visual style emphasize the unknowable nature of the Empty Man. The entity's origins, motives, and true form are shrouded in mystery, and attempts to understand or confront it result in madness and despair. This aligns with the cosmic horror themes that certain truths are beyond our grasp, and that confronting them can lead to existential ruin. The Empty Man itself is like an eldritch entity, ancient and malevolent, with powers that defy human understanding. Its influence pervades the film, manifesting through the cult and the psychic connections it forms with its followers. The rituals and methodologies surrounding the Empty Man evoke a sense of ancient, forgotten knowledge that is both fascinating and utterly terrifying. Our protagonist experiences profound isolation and alienation as he delves deeper into the mystery of the Empty Man. This mirrors the cosmic horror themes of characters being cut off from the familiar and thrust into a reality where they are utterly alone and powerless. Lasombra's journey into the heart of the cult and his encounters with the Empty Man's influence amplify his sense of being adrift in a hostile, indifferent universe. Cosmic horror often explores the psychological impact of encountering the incomprehensible. Here, Lasombra's investigation leads to a gradual unraveling of his sanity. He is plagued by hallucinations, visions, and a growing sense of paranoia, reflecting the mental toll of grappling with cosmic truths. The film's climax, where he confronts the reality of the Empty Man and his own role in the entity's plans, underscores the devastating impact of such knowledge. The Pontifex Institute is central to the film's plot. It embodies the cosmic horror trope of secret societies that worship ancient eldritch beings. The cult's rituals and doctrines are steeped in esoteric lore, and their unwavering belief in the Empty Man's power reflects the theme of human beings seeking meaning and power through connection with forces beyond their understanding. The cult's actions and the resulting supernatural events serve as a conduit for the Empty Man's influence, demonstrating the perilous nature of delving into forbidden knowledge. The film's setting, from the abandoned bridge to the desolate landscapes and the cult's foreboding compound, create an atmosphere of isolation and dread. These locations underscore the sense of being on the edge of the abyss, where the boundaries between reality and the supernatural begin to blur. The film does a lot with its soundscape, utilizing a high-quality recording of some of the most subtle whispers and murmurs to emphasize the intimacy of its terror. But it's the more subtle touches that elevate this film to a much higher level. The soft, almost unheard and easily missed of whispers that haunt our protagonist in his solitude. Whispers that blame him for not being around at the moment he is needed the most. The unsettling ambient noises, dissonant music, and eerie silence amplifies the tension and unease, drawing the audience into a world where something ancient and malevolent lurks just out of sight. The film employs visual symbolism to convey its cosmic horror themes. The recurring motifs of empty spaces, dark voids, and ominous figures serve as metaphors for the unknown and the unknowable. The bridge, a central symbol in the film, represents the threshold between the familiar and the otherworldly, a crossing point into the realm of the Empty Man. The cult in the film exemplifies the dangers of blind faith and the collective power of belief. The Empty Man gains strength through the cult's rituals and the belief of its followers, highlighting how belief can shape and alter reality. The entity blurs the lines between reality and hallucination. Lasombra's journey is marked by disturbing visions and altered states of consciousness, reflecting his psychological unraveling. Lasombra's investigation is also driven by his grief over the death of his wife and son. His personal loss mirrors the larger existential question posed by the film, as he seeks meaning in a world that seems increasingly chaotic and hostile. His journey is marked by isolation, both physically and psychologically. The film's desolate setting and eerie atmosphere underscore his sense of alienation, and the profound loneliness that accompanies his quest for truth. The Empty Man itself represents the unseen and unknowable aspect of existence. The film suggests that some truths are just beyond human comprehension, and that confronting these truths can lead us into madness. This one ultimately suffered from a lack of support from its studio, resulting in a limited release and very minimal marketing. In fact, to this day, it has not even been dumped out onto DVD. I was only able to get a physical version of this film by purchasing the DVD directly from Redbox. The film's complex narrative and ambiguous ending may have also contributed to its initial poor reception, as audiences and critics struggled to categorize or fully understand it. However, its subsequent rediscovery on streaming platforms has led to a reassessment, with many praising its ambition and depth. The Empty Man is a haunting and thought-provoking film that transcends traditional horror conventions. Its exploration of psychological and existential themes, combined with strong performances and atmospheric direction, making it a standout entry in the genre. Despite its troubled production and lack of initial release, The Empty Man has emerged as a sort of cult classic, offering a chilling meditation on the power of belief and the fragility of the human mind. Well, friends, that's gonna be all for now. As always, I implore you to check out this film for yourself. Take my opinions for what they're worth, but more importantly, formulate your own, if you can find it. I'm placing a link down in the description on where you can at least watch this film for yourself. If I can find a physical release, I'll put a link down there as well. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, subscribe for more content, And if you really want to help support this channel, we do still have a Patreon, and every little bit helps us grow. Until next time, stay safe, stay clear of the empty man. Also, maybe don't blow into empty bottles on bridges and summon him, and thanks for watching.